All right, guys, today we're doing lesson 1-5, and we're going to be solving by graphing. So I totally expect you to take notes and do this because you're going to be doing questions during the lesson. And tomorrow when I come in and I ask to see your notes and your answers to the questions, if you don't have those, I'm going to be a little upset. So please take notes, pay attention, and try these problems. This is actually a pretty cool lesson because you're going to get to use Desmos to solve equations and inequalities. So first of all, let's talk about solving with an equation. Now we know how to solve equations, right? Equations are easy to solve. You guys are really, really good at solving equations, but sometimes they give us equations that are a little weird, or they take a while, or all kinds of other things. And I just want to show you that we can actually also solve them graphically if we have the right kind of tools. So let's start with this equation right here, for example. Say we have the absolute value of x minus 4 equals 1/2 x plus 1. Now we can do this, right? We've learned how to solve absolute value equations. It was last school year in Algebra 1, but they're totally doable. We know the absolute value means that it can be only positive in those places, but then we also have this other linear part on the right-hand side. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to use a graphing utility to help us solve the two equations. So in Desmos, here's what I'm going to be typing in. Y equals the absolute value of x minus 4 for the first equation. And for the second equation, the other side of the equation, y equals 1/2 x plus 1. So let's go to Desmos and put those in and see what happens as soon as this opens. Okay, so y equals the absolute value of x minus 4. Okay, I can see here's my absolute value, right? We did those before, we know what that looks like. And then the other side was y equals 1/2 x, and then what was it, plus 1. So we took the equation and we basically broke it into two, and what we see here is we have the absolute value function, which is my red one, and then the linear function, which is the blue one, and we want to know what are the solutions. And if you remember from last year, anytime you have two equations in one, that's a system of equations. And so basically all we're looking for is where are the intersections. So I can see here, for example, there's an intersection at 10 and 6. And here we have another intersection at 2 and 2. Now remember, what we're looking for is the value of x, right? We're solving. We chose to add in the y value so that we could graph it. So all we're looking for are the x values, which happen to be 2 and 10. So if I were to solve this one by hand, going back to my original equation, this one right here, if I were to do it the way that we learned to last year, the solutions would be x equals 2 and x equals 10. So see, that's pretty nifty, and we like being able to use our graph. So I want you to try this one. Oops, I can spell. Okay, so I want you to try this one. The negative absolute value of x minus 2 equals negative 1/2 x minus 2. So you do that one and tell me what the solutions are. We can also do inequalities in the same way. So let's look at the inequalities. Now, whenever I come back tomorrow, we are going to practice and review over this because, by the way, in case you didn't see the board, we have a quiz on this lesson on Wednesday. So we're going over the easy stuff today, and then tomorrow we're going to clear up a few other things. Excuse me. So let's look at the inequality of, so let's do something pretty straightforward right now. Let's do the inequality x squared minus 4 is greater than 0. Now remember, whenever you're solving an inequality, then my answer is not just 2 or 10, it's a set of numbers, okay? So let's solve this one. So let's go back to Desmos. And we're going to type it in exactly how we see it. We're going to type in y equals x squared minus 4. Oops, let me go back over. Oh man, I wish I could draw on this, but it's not going to let me. Okay, so you're gonna have to listen. So greater than 0, right? That was our inequality. And we know that 0, like our x-axis, is like here and here, right? Where those 2 points are. We want all of the numbers bigger than 0. And we can see that that starts at -2 and then up, and then +2 and then up, right? Well, not really up with the -2. It actually would go down, right? -3, -4, because it's going to the left, and then up 2, 3, 4 as it's going to the right. That bottom part, and totally wish I could draw on this, that bottom part is less than 0, like the little bump at the bottom. I guess I could try screenshotting it. Let's see if that works. Boop. There we go. Let me do some markup here. Okay, cool. Okay, so we can see like this part down here, that's negative because it's below 0, right? It's down there. So that's why it's -2 and these numbers and +2 and these numbers. So that's where it's greater than 0. So, delete that screenshot. If I wanted the solution, we know that it would be x and everything less than or equal to -2. And it would be everything bigger than or equal to +2. So that is where everything is bigger than 0. Now, had it said less than 0, then it would have been that little bump at the bottom. So you can use it to solve inequalities too. So I want to do one more inequality because not all the time are they less than or greater than 0, and we want to change that. Okay, so this is another example of an inequality. So like if I gave you x minus 5 is greater than -2x plus 4. Okay, so we could do this one separately, but honestly the easiest way to do this one is to center it around 0. So I'm just going to use the algebra that I know how to do. And I'm going to move the 2x over. Okay, so that's going to give me 1x plus 2x is 3x. And then I'm going to also move that plus 4 over, -4 minus 4. So that's going to become a -9 is greater than 0. Okay, so here's what I'm actually going to graph. Most of you guys could probably do that part in your head. Again, I just used the properties of equality to move those two to the left. So then I did have something equal to 0 because, you know, these go away. And that's all I'm left with on the right-hand side. So let's go graph 3x minus 9 is greater than 0. 3x. Oops, I forgot my y. Y equals 3x minus 9. Okay, now this time I have a line, right? And again, we're looking for the x value. In this case, that happens to be 3. So kind of like a minute ago, that worked great, so let's try that again. Just like a minute ago, we can see down here, right, this is all less than 0 because it's below the axis. All of this up here is above the axis, and therefore it would be greater than 0. So everywhere 3 and up is going to be greater than 0. So I would go over here, and I could say my solution is x is greater than 3. Okay, so that's solving inequalities using a graph. I know that's pretty straightforward, but it's nothing too crazy. So you've already done this one here, right? You've already done this one in Desmos by yourself, and you've told me what the solutions are. Now I want you to also try these two. Okay, so try this one. Excuse me. Let's see if you can get one where it's less than 0. So let's do x squared plus 2x minus 8 is less than or equal to 0. So do that one. And then also do one like the one I just kind of did. So let's try that one. Let's do, what's another good one? Those are poor examples. Okay, so let's try this one. Let's do -x plus 5 is less than 2x minus 1. So just try those two. Again, do them graphically and see if you can tell me what the two solutions are based on your